Hey everybody, welcome back to this live episode of Think Business. I'm looking forward to talking with Paresh Patel. Paresh, it's great to see you. I'm excited to talk about you and your business and what you guys sell. You are the founder and CEO of PayRange, patent technology with over 3 million users worldwide, allowing smartphones to make touchless, socially distant payments on any person, place, or thing. What I love about this, Paresh, is you started the company in 2013, you launched it in 2015. Who knew that in 2020 it would be even as important as it is? And so I just want to kind of go back a couple years. What was the insight that you had in 2013 that this was an important move in the space you were moving in?
Yeah, hey, John, happy to be here. Great question. I think if you look at the namesake of PayRange, my company's name, we had always been positioned to allow payments, enable payments from a distance. And that's where the word range and pay kind of come together. But of course, we couldn't have imagined anything like the pandemic back then. What we were mostly concerned about in 2015 was removing the friction in machine payments. If you think about payments, traditionally it's dollar bills or coins or even credit cards, but it's a very physical process. And unfortunately, the more physical process it is, the more problems there are typically. Coin jams, dollar bill jams, magnetic card swipes, not reading it. And so we were trying to reduce problems on machines by enabling payment.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems so simple. It's complicated, right? Because I love the concept and the idea. Just the other day, I have a car wash by my house, and they just kind of implemented this type of technology where you can pull up, it reads your license plate, it's completely touchless, and but you were so far ahead of the game. So let's just talk about kind of the touchless world, right? Mm-hmm. As we move, the credit cards where it's just, you can kind of don't even have to touch anything. Where is touchless going in general?
Yeah, so touchless in general, I think is going to be the way of the times, right? If you look at all the different ways we can pay, some of them, such as coin and cash, are high touch, and frankly, not very sanitary in a lot of cases because of all the different people who have to touch that coin or have touched it before you, or same thing with the dollar bills. And inherently, cash is just a very dirty business in terms of the amount of germs and dust and everything that's on there. And from the machine's perspective, accepting that, as I mentioned, has always been a challenge because bills are crumpled up, coins can be sticky, and it just causes a lot of trouble in machines. And fundamentally, the experience has always been very broken. If you stop anybody on the street and ask them, have you lost money in a machine or had difficulty paying any machine in the last year, I think almost everybody has had some poor experience with machines.
I can't tell you how many frustrating moments I had taking my dollar bill that was too crinkly or something, and moving it along.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to kind of get it flattened out, right? So I hear what you're saying. But let me ask you a question. This really is almost a bigger discussion. You're working. Your technology. You have over 3 million users worldwide, but studies are pointing to a cashless society. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, here we are in 2021, May 3rd, pre-COVID studies were showing that 85% of the jobs that existed in the year 2030, 9 years now away, 85% of the jobs that exist in 2030 don't exist today. And so the technology, the change, the AI, the virtual, all of this stuff that's changing, where are we 5-10 years from now, in your opinion, since you're in this space, as a cashless society?
Definitely cashless will be the predominant way that people will be paying. I think one of the challenges has always been that the small ticket space, meaning transactions that are usually $10 and less. That space has always been a very difficult one to digitize. And frankly, it's been kind of the last frontier in the cashless digitization world. There are a lot of cashless solutions for everything from restaurants to online to business payments to cross-border payments. There's a lot of cashless solutions out there, but the small ticket space has been a challenge for a number of different reasons. One, typically the smaller the ticket, the more it tends towards automation, meaning vending machines, laundry machines, car washes, amusement, video games, things like that. And the challenge with that hasn't been the fact that there isn't cashless payment. The challenge has been, how do you make it economical to upgrade those machines to accept cashless payment? Because you're not processing $50 and $100 payments, you're processing a 25-cent or a 50-cent or a $1 payment. So it can't afford to have a very expensive payment solution. And so that's where the challenge has come. And where we kind of stepped in is we reimagined the entire way to upgrade. And we kind of extracted away the complexity from the machine and leveraged the smarts that the user already has, which is the smartphone in their pocket.
Yeah, I love it. I want to dive into how you're talking about reimagine, because I want to just give a little bit more of your background, and I want to dive into a couple of things. You founded 3 companies over 26 years. You completed an MBA from University of Washington. You began applying technology to solve business problems at the age of 17. You spearhead a company, in a previous unused manner to fix a broken soda machine led to you spearheading a company ranked 83rd on the Deloitte's Technology Fast 500. You have this entrepreneurial mind, this forward-thinking mind. Speak to the 18-year-old, the kid starting college, the kid graduating college today who has this type of mind. How do you use it in today's world?
That's a great question. I think the way I kind of have viewed things throughout my career is looking at the problems and not accepting the way things have always been done. I think all of us have experienced problems throughout our daily lives. Like I said, every one of us has lost money in a vending machine, or couldn't pay a machine or a parking meter or something that we needed to pay.
Or shake the machine so hard.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to shake that Doritos to fall out,
right? In today's world.
And so all of us experience different problems throughout our lives, and most of us just ignore those problems in the sense that we just accept them the way they are. What kind of differentiated in my perspective is that I'm always thinking about how should it be or how could it be, and do I have an idea where I could do this better? And the challenge there is that usually we kind of decide, well, yeah, but if it was really a good idea, somebody would have already done it, right? Like that's the one thing that typically stops us is like, well, why hasn't it been solved yet? And it's not an unrealistic question, because investors will ask you, employees that you're trying to hire will ask you, customers will ask you. You'll get that question from a lot of different people. So you need to be able to contemplate, why is this something that hasn't been solved? And is there a solution out there, maybe one that you can develop that is significantly better than the current way? And I think that's the challenge there, is to try to come up with a solution and being able to defend that it's actually a much better way.
Let's talk about, though, the think time that takes, right? So a lot of people will say that. I agree with you. I talk about that with clients as a business coach all the time, right? To get to the simple and to find out what's hiding in plain sight for us to look at, to say, right, how can that be redone? What's the missing nuance there? And then build a business to fill in that gap that's been in front of us the whole time, where someone says, how did we not think of that, right? How do we not think of that? But that requires hours, days, months, sometimes years, right, of just thinking and looking. It's kind of like those pictures, what do you see, right? So many people see different things. What type of rituals do people need to have in order to start thinking differently? Because to reimagine takes time, as you're talking about.
One of the key rituals, I think, is just constantly asking why. And when you see something, why is it being done that way? why it doesn't that work? Why wouldn't this work? Why is this a great idea, or why is this not a great idea? And
Yeah.
why is that problem there in the first place? And trying to get to the root of a lot of those questions, not the surface level answers, but the root of the answer, right? And in my case, why, like for example, why have machines always only use dollar bills or coins or whatnot? And fundamentally, it kind of comes down to a few key things. One is just the cost. The cost to upgrade a machine has always been very high. Another is the complexity. It's always been very complex to upgrade a machine. And when you have millions of machines out there, it begs a different model than a retail type model. And there wasn't a solution designed just for automated retail that would work in a cost effective way. And so trying to ask the whys allows you to form your solution around those.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think that's so important. And I think so many people who are listening right now or later have listened to Start With Why, Simon Sinek. And if they haven't, it's a must. I want to talk about, you have over 3 million users. So here you are, you have this concept in 2013 and you launch in 2015. How do you then, what's the journey to get to 3 million plus users? Right? Because sometimes I always like to break things down a little bit because the law of proximity to somebody listening may be too big. So I want to kind of narrow that so they can understand like, hey, if I jump on now, do X, Y, Z consistently, I can get there faster than I maybe think.
Yeah, certainly there's a flywheel that needs to be created there, right? You're not going to just generate a huge number of users in a very short amount of time, but you can do a lot of things right to get that flywheel starting to go. And one of the first things fundamentally comes back down to the problem. Are you really solving a true problem? And are you solving it in a way that, is a proverbial 10x better way that somebody is going to adopt that? And there are a lot of different ways to acquire users. One is, for example, buying users, paying users to sign up, or paying users. And a lot of user acquisitions out there are done at very high cost. New business models, new apps come, and sometimes, especially if it's in the fintech space, it could cost upwards of $100 to acquire a user, for example. In our case, we didn't actually spend $1. We didn't spend a single dollar to acquire a user. And what we did was we approached it in a way we felt would work, which was we went to the point of the problem, which is when they are at the machine and they're unable to complete a purchase, we have a little sticker there that says, hey, download the app and you can get your purchase in 30 seconds or less, right? And here's the irony of that is when I originally came up with that approach, everyone I had talked to basically said it wouldn't work. Investors were telling me, there is no way somebody is going to be standing at the machine, download your app and sign up and then make a purchase. That's just never going to happen. And I had conviction around that because I had been in this business for 20 years at that time on the other side as a machine owner. And I knew how frustrated users get when they're a quarter short and can't buy their Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, or when the dollar bill gets stuck, or when it doesn't dispense their quarter. I've seen that, and I've seen how frustrated people can get with that. And it wasn't, to me, a 30-second download was not a high bar for somebody who had that level of frustration, especially when every future purchase would be significantly faster and easier. And today, I'm happy to report that 99.9% of our users are actually acquired when they're standing in front of a machine. It's not through some social media ad or through our website or anything. It's literally when they're standing in front of the machine. That's how we acquire users.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so let me ask you this: one or two hiccups along the way that you can, I always like looking at. I always think people learn from stories of redos, right? What's one thing as you look back in hindsight that you would have done differently?
Yeah, obviously there's tons of things that early stage companies and founders make very early on and throughout their career, actually. But some early mistakes I made were I I think not trusting my gut enough. What happened was, a lot of times, like I just said, a lot of times people will say things to you, like, for example, hey, no one's ever going to do that, or that won't work. And in some cases, the person or people telling you that are very credible people. In some cases, like I hired folks that were from very successful companies, Square or Google or whatnot. And they've got a background that says, well, maybe you should listen to them. And here I'm a guy from a small business, unattended retail, and you're talking to somebody who scaled a company at maybe, or a division at Square or Google or whatnot, and you're like, maybe I should listen to them. But sometimes what you realize is there are scenarios under which they were successful that aren't necessarily applicable to their business. And just because something worked over there doesn't mean it will work over here. Different situation, different resources, different team, different problem, different product, different everything. And we made some very big early mistakes because of that.
Yeah. Paresh, I couldn't agree with you more. When I was 23, I started an internet company, and we sold that at the time to the largest internet professional service firm in the world when I was 25. And my two partners and I, we hired like the CFO type guy, because we didn't have a CFO.
Yeah.
We hired him to come to, like, basically look at everything and come to dinner with us and the people that were buying us. And he said, if you sell this company, it will be the biggest mistake of your life.
Yeah.
But our guts and our instincts told us he was wrong. But we talked about it for a while, like, oh my God, what are we? We were 25, 26 years old, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we knew, based on exact real-time dynamics of what was going on in that market, in the world, in the economy, that it was even though he said it was the worst, we knew it was the best. And we did sell it, and it was the best. And so I agree with you. I love that story. It's good to ask questions. It's good to do intel, but nobody's as invested and understands the market like you do. You still got to have a product that somebody will buy, that somebody will utilize so you can make money. But you got to be careful of other people's opinions, especially your family's opinions too, because they have an emotional connection that they can't sometimes drop when looking from a business lens. So I think that's so important. And trusting your gut is, just going back to brainstorming and reimagining. You got to take quiet time, and you have to. For me, it's been quiet time and meditation and things of that nature. And you just got to listen. You have to make the ultimate decision. You can never put that in somebody else's hands.
Yeah, I think especially early in my career, I totally underestimated the power of your own instinct or your gut. And being able to listen to that, as you mentioned, takes some conscious effort, right? Like, you have to stop. You have to think, you have to brainstorm within yourself. And again, that doesn't mean not to ask people and talk to people. You need to gain all the inputs, but keep in mind that everybody has just a subset of the information you have. So you're combining all that information, assessing it, and then making a decision based on all the different available inputs.
Yeah. It was said to me a long time ago, if you have to ask for advice, you already know the answer.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've always liked that saying, because you intuitively know the answer, and we're in a world right now where people are, we're talking about gut instinct, and we're talking about intuitiveness and, emotional IQs, and those things mean something. So if you're asking somebody, an intellectual with a low EQ or GQ, a gut instinct, and they're looking at it from an intellectual standpoint, sometimes, you can look at it black and white, but you have to understand the gray of the business. So I love what you're talking about. Tell everybody your ideal client and how they can connect with you.
So we have a website, payrange.com, and we have a lot of information there. And then personally, I'm on LinkedIn, and people can search me up there.
But who is your ideal type of client?
Our ideal client are people who run small business or small ticket payment systems. So vending machines, laundry machines, car washes, video games, things that you typically would pay with cash or coin.
Yeah, I love it. All right, you ready for a quick speed round?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, favorite book and why?
What was that again?
Favorite book and why?
Favorite book and why? I think Good to Great. And one of the things I like about that is just how it takes a constant effort to get there.
Did you pick up when I said, I think I may have said like zoom outs or something earlier? Like that's from that book.
Yeah.
Right. I love when he talks about zooming in and zooming out.
Yeah.
Such a great book, a must read. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Best piece of wisdom: make different mistakes.
That's a good one. Finish this sentence. One thing everyone in every business person needs to do to reimagine their business is?
Keep asking why.
That's a good one. And my last question is, fast forward 100 years, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I missed that question again.
What do you want your legacy to be?
What do I want my legacy to be? That's a good one. That I actually made a difference.
I love it. I love it. I want to highlight a couple things that you talked about today, because I think I think they're really important. Constantly, the importance of constantly asking why, the importance of asking how should it be, how could it be, right? All of these questions I think are so important. What hasn't been solved? How can whatever you're looking at be reimagined? I think is so important. And how you ultimately look at it. How will it ultimately solve a problem? Some of this stuff is so simple, it's complicated, and it really takes that time to sit and give yourself the quiet time to find it. But I think one of the most important things that we talked about today is the power of your own gut, right? Really trusting your gut, reaching out to resources, asking questions. I'm a big fan of coaches and mentors and this and the other. But at the end of the day, you know yourself, you know your business, you know your industry. You've got to learn how to trust your gut. And if you don't know how to do that, you got to practice it, right?
Absolutely.
Because what we're talking about is looking for things. And I think we're going to see a reinvention of things over the next decade, where a lot of the reinvention of things is going to be so obvious, and it's all hidden in plain sight right now. And those that take the time to really examine and hyper focus are going to be the ones that help save us moments and times, and make things safer and things of that nature. So I love what you do. I love the company you've built. Any last thoughts of anybody who's listening, of that entrepreneur who's listening today, who has been told no, but still has that burning no in their guts? What advice would you give them?
If you see a problem, you believe in the problem, and you think you have the right solution, just go for it.
I love it. Go for it is right. Think community, this has been great. PayRange.com, PayRange.com. Paresh Patel, founder and CEO of PayRange. Think community, you can reach him at the website or LinkedIn. You can also, if you want to kind of get on your entrepreneurial way, you can go to my website, johndwoskin.com. You can download my book and my 100-page ebook, which has 10 chapters in it, for free to get those entrepreneurial juices flowing. This has been great. Think community, I appreciate you. Paresh, thanks. This was a great talk. Excited to see where your company goes over the next decade, because I'm sure it's going to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we move more touchless. So thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day.
Thanks, John. Thank you, everybody.